Hello, hello. Welcome to the Porn Stars and People podcast. I'm Dan Frigolette. I'm here with Kendra James.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for doing this. It turns out I'm in a proximity, I'm a potential stalker proximity apparently to where you are. You said I put in the GPS and it was like right here.
You're very close to my house.
So it worked out randomly. That doesn't give me any more information.
I got to sleep in today.
Yeah. Yeah, I kept trying to push it up because I knew I was going to wake up and check out the sunrise. It's like the small things in life that I think we skip over. And I was like, I'm on the east. I'm going to be on the west coast of Florida, in the Gulf, in the next 3 days. So I was like, let me check out a couple sunrises.
You have to go to the beach. You have to watch the sunrise. It's sort of mandatory.
Yeah, it was cool.
Right?
It was cool. There's a lot of this is what I learned the last time I was in Fort Lauderdale. I forgot about this. Like, there's a lot of homelessness on the beach.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Like somebody walked by and I was like cleaning up my feet, and then all of a sudden I got this overwhelming smell, and then I looked up and it was a dude, and I was like, oh, that guy hasn't showered in months. But I realized last time I was down here that if I was going to be homeless anywhere, I would pick here.
This is not a bad place to be homeless.
Yeah.
I suppose.
It's nice. It's warm. There's showers.
There are showers.
That's the hardest part
Yeah.
is finding a shower when you're homeless, from what I understand. Right, like that's the part that would upset me the most. Like I can figure out the living outdoors. I can make it like a thing where I'm like, look, it's like a social experience. My blueprint is tiny now, right?
You're a ghost.
You get away from the possessions, but I would like to shower.
I think that would have to be a conscious decision on your part, not
Yeah.
necessarily
one
not made for you.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
The choice to
You think a lot of people have decided, have not been part of their decision to be homeless?
No.
I think
I don't think many people have decided to be, and when you put in more thought like you just did,
Too much
might
thought.
be a conscious decision to leave it all behind.
I knew guys who just for financial security, we're working and then just did in New York City, and they're trying to figure out how to be a comedian, and it's it sucks.
Difficult.
And so that was their choice. They said, I'm just going to be homeless. So they were like couch hopping for a while, and then they would find, and then they would.
Couchsurfing is a little different.
It is a little different. And then they would find like little places where they know they could put their stuff, and like little places, like little secret places nobody looks, where they could sleep at night.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Here's what another buddy might say. The interesting thing that he finds about seeing homeless dudes is they're always like asleep by 8. Like as soon as the sun goes down, they're asleep.
pretty
Like
much,
they're getting like a solid 9 hours.
Yeah, what else are you gonna do?
I guess
I
so.
don't know.
So yeah. Okay, so you were telling me what did you do with Ozzy Osbourne? Is that what you told me?
So yeah, at one point in my life, I was working in the music industry and
Nice.
toured with different bands.
Yeah.
And toured with Ozfest for like 3 years.
What were you doing?
My husband and I do a freak show. Well, my husband, I should say, does a freak show. I at that point was a part of it. I no longer am.
Interesting.
So
What was your part? What was your role?
I swallowed swords.
No,
And
I
I
guess-
did bullwhip tricks.
Okay.
And I wrestled on broken glass.
Wow.
And,
Interesting.
yeah.
Wait, has any of this and not to be insulting that I don't know your entire body of work, has any of this made it into the work?
Oh, well, yeah, bullwhips.
Okay.
I learned how to do bullwhips in the circus or in the freak show.
Yeah.
And now I use that for videos.
Yeah. But so you're not doing anything with broken glass or
No.
swords? There's no sword swallowing in the game?
No sword swallowing. I actually, during one show, I cut my throat and got a little bit of an infection.
Fuck.
Decided I wouldn't be doing that
Hazards of
anymore.
the job. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, whenever I see those fun type of like I have a buddy who's a street performer. He does like pogo stick, unicycle, lots of backflips, and big thing. But he can basically do it anywhere. Like he just shows up with his truck, pulls his unicycle out, makes a circle with ropes, and then figures out how to gather people. And there's just something like fun and free about that. That I wish I had. Like there needs to be a microphone, there needs to be lights, there needs to be a stage, people, seats, all the stuff. You need to control it for stand-up comedy, because any little thing, any little distraction, and you lose the people.
Yeah.
So I envy those people that can figure out how to do.
Yeah, when you're busking or when you're doing something a little less scripted. You
Yeah.
have more leeway to fuck up.
Yeah. Well, that's what's cool is that he's figured out a way to, if he does make a mistake, he pretends like it's part of the bit.
Yeah, it
That
gets
he was
incorporated into the show.
That he was like supposed to fuck up. Because he's also my age. He's getting older, so it's like I think he's trying to figure out now when he gets to 40 whether or not he's still going to be able to physically do all the crazy things that he's doing, and whether or not he needs to tone it back in his act.
Yeah,
it's interesting. You know, there's a guy named the Skinny German Juggler. I think he's like 50, and he gets on the tall unicycle and he does a juggling act, and there's a little bit of aerobics or aerobatics, acrobatics. Yeah, that's probably the word.
Yeah, trust me, my husband's over 40, and he performs with a couple of people who have been around for quite some time.
So what's his talent?
He sort of generally does freak show stuff. Hammers nails up his nose.
Yeah.
Puts a running power drill up his nose.
Yeah. Wow.
Puts his face in broken glass. We used to do a trick where he would put his face in broken glass, and I would smash a cinder block on the back of his head with a sledgehammer. So
that's crazy.
Had it a long time. There were too many concussions.
Really?
So yeah.
So all of this for the love of the game. So wait, he would get knocked out in front of people?
Not knocked out, no.
But he would really play it cool, and then he'd go back and he'd be like, "Listen,
Oh my God, we had an incident in Canada a long time ago. We were on tour. It was one of the Ozfests, and he was emceeing things, and we were on stage and had the cinder block on his head. His face is in broken glass, and I go to slam the cinder block with a sledgehammer, and it didn't break. The sledgehammer bounced.
Oh, Jesus.
So, of course, there's like thousands and thousands of people watching, and they start booing, and I'm like,
wow.
There's no booing.
Yeah.
So I readjust, and I hit the cinder block again, and it bounces again.
Fuck.
So then I just got mad, and I started slamming
the
sledgehammer on the cinder block over and over and over again, forgetting, of course, that
there's a person
head
there.
is under it.
Wow.
And finally one side broke, and he pushed the other side off and said, "Drowning pool is next," and left. And I looked down, and there's a pool of blood in the glass.
Oh, no.
Of course, I freaked out.
Yeah.
Getting stuff off the stage, and you can hear through the monitors, like the sound guys are like, "Oh my God, she's gonna kill him. Oh my God, okay, someone take the sledgehammer from her."
Wow.
Nuh-uh, this motherfucker's gonna break.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, I found him backstage, literally walking in circles with like a sheet of blood pouring down his face, and
that's crazy.
Yeah,
wow.
and
wait, so just so I can visualize what it is. Where do you put the cinder block so that because he can't be in the middle of it.
Face down.
Yeah.
He's laying face down. His face is in a bed of broken glass, which is just
so he's
simply
nose
broken
down.
beer bottles.
Yeah. On a flat surface with glass on it.
Yeah.
And then you just balance it on the back.
Cinder block on the back of his head. He would hold it.
Yeah. So he holds it two hands behind his head, and you hit it dead center.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I don't even know the physics of how that is even possible. Now I want to see the show.
Well, we don't do it anymore.
Yeah, apparently not.
Because of that. Because there was a concussion.
That'll do it.
And lots of blood. And
that'll do it every time.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's the kind of thing he does or used to do. And
yeah.
It's a little toned down and
okay, so he does less of it. Did he find because at some point in that kind of thing, does he have to find like the him replacement? Like there's like a guy who does the stuff that he used to do that he puts in, right?
No, he tours with other people. He tours with the Enigma, who I don't know, the blue tattooed puzzle piece guy.
Oh, I don't know them. No. Oh, it's one guy?
Yeah.
Oh,
Enigma,
no, I don't know. I know Enigma, the band from like the 90s.
Oh my God,
you remember that? I know them.
No, Enigma is tattooed head to toe blue puzzle pieces.
Oh, very cool.
So they work together a lot, and then the Mexican Wolf Boy.
Interesting. I wonder how much crossover there is between what Wacky Chad does and then who you guys know. I wonder if it's the same circle. It is interesting, this whole thing. Magicians, buskers. What's that?
Magicians are just Satan.
Well, magicians and comedians sometimes run together because there was a lot of clubs in the 80s and 90s that were magic and comedy. The first club that I ever performed at was a magic and comedy club. So me and my buddy basically walked in. We were 20 and we were like, let us in. We want to be those things. And we talked our way in and we got to hang out. And then buskers get to hang out with sort of, more of the freak show people. So I wonder how thin that, because I'm so far removed from the freak show crew, but I'm wondering how close my buddy would be and how close a magician would be. I'm wondering how small the circle is.
Yeah, only so much separation.
That's what I found out about my industry and about your industry is it's only like a couple hundred people, and it's like at a given period of time, and people that are in and they're out of it. If you hang in it long enough, you just get kind of veteran status because you've been able to make it and be successful. And then, it's like you almost don't, when somebody's in or out of it, nobody's like publicly quitting. That's what's crazy. Like comedians, they just stop doing comedy. They don't have to quit to anybody.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll hit up somebody who was, I don't know, influential in my porn viewing adolescence, and they'll be like, "Oh, listen, I'm not in it anymore." And I get it. That's why I'd love to interview you. I want to get your take on everything. So it's an interesting little circle of people that kind of control these industries and how everybody knows each other. So it's
small.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's smaller than one would think.
Yeah. Do you have people that you particularly hang out with in this industry? Do you try to stay out of it when you're not, doing the work part?
I mean, at this point, I sort of have my friends that I've had from the beginning.
Yep.
I've been in the adult industry for a really long time, and the friends I made at the beginning are sort of the friends I have now.
Yeah.
And the adult industry is somewhat transient, so people come and go, and you're like, oh, that girl was really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, bye-bye.
Yeah, they try it and then they're gone. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is somewhat transient, so I do find that my friends are the same.
Yeah.
That I've had, and then I have my sort of vanilla friends, my normal.
Yeah, what is that? The civilians? Yeah, that was really funny. I can't remember who first used that word, but because that's how comedians look at other people too. Because it's like we can have normal conversations with them, but then when comedians sit down, we go dark. Like me and my buddy Andrew Frank, we talked about suicide for like 8 hours one day in the car.
What's up with that, by the way?
Yeah. Why are comedians dark?
Why are comedians dark?
Because we see. This is how Drew Michael puts it. We see the world for what it is. I think is what it is.
Oh my God.
So it's like, and then we take everything and we kind of break it apart. One of my favorite things about comedians and a guy, Andrew Schultz in particular, is we can argue like any side. Like sometimes part of it is like it doesn't matter where we stand. We can see both ends of the spectrum, and both sides are probably wrong. And so we can argue either side depending on what we think the other person is.
Yeah, you have to play devil's advocate.
Oh,
But
people get heated.
I know.
People get very upset, and it's like, oh, this is why people fist fight. Like you find out quickly when somebody gets angry with you. And I was like, no, I don't believe any of this stuff. I was just breaking things apart.
Argue a point. You can argue a point based on.
Yeah, well, based on the silly things that they're saying that they're emotional about.
Right.
But then I did find out recently that. I'm not great at arguing, but I'm good at like seeing all viewpoints. But I was arguing with somebody who's fantastic at arguing, and that's what they do for a living. They're like a powerful lawyer, and it became an emotional thing because they kept bringing in things from their life and trying to apply it to the things that I was saying, and so it got so far removed that basically it was almost as if I came in, said that her experiences were bullshit, and that they didn't mean anything, which is never what I said, but because she kept. So what you do to argue well is to break something apart into as many pieces as possible, and then find a really specific piece, bring it back in, and then just argue the shit out of it, and then bring in your own personal experiences, so that the person can't say no, you didn't feel that, because you're like, no, I was there, I felt that, and it got out of control, and I didn't know how that it wasn't an argument that you could just stop, and so then I just had to keep going, and it just kept getting worse. It was so bad. It was awful. Like the night started was like we were having like a fun time. It was like fun, flirty, and then the night was almost like I don't know if I'm ever gonna see this person again. Yeah, it was like it was almost that. Yeah, it was awful. I'm not good. I'm not good. But I just feel like I got outsmarted. I got outwitted from an argument standpoint.
Well,
are you a good arguer?
I like to think I am, but probably not.
No?
Yeah. But I do the same thing where I sort of can see all different sides and pick things apart and argue something even if it's not necessarily what I believe.
Yeah.
Because I can see that point.
It's tough.
So.
It's tough when you got to keep rechecking it. So I was having the argument about this one actually got emotional too. This was about how people on the dating sites are putting this thing where they said, if you voted for Trump, please swipe left. I live in New York City. Everybody claims that they didn't vote for Trump. So around the election, it was, if you voted for Trump, please swipe left. And my whole thought process was, that's backwards. If somebody voted for Trump and you didn't vote for Trump, then you should be talking to that person and figuring out what the hell happened.
Right.
Comparing facts and figuring out where you guys differ so that one or both of you can come out as a better person. So I'm arguing this point with this girl who I'm on a date with, and I had to keep reminding her, "Hey, I didn't vote for Trump. Just let me just re-clarify. I did not vote for Trump." And we just kept going back and forth, and it was that. It was almost like she got up and left. Like it was like that. It was that level of intensity. It was awful.
People get really, really emotional about that and the whole political climate. Like people are really emotionally invested in, and there are a lot of like secret Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, I live in South Florida. I live in Florida.
From what I understand about Florida is, if I drive in the wrong direction, I could bump into a Confederate flag.
Yes, you can. There's a truck that drives by regularly with Confederate flags flying off the back. Yeah.
That's terrible.
So, but then we are in a liberal area. Mm-hmm. So if you look at Broward County, Miami-Dade, like they're by and large like pretty liberal areas, but you go outside of that and so it's a weird area. And then even within like the liberal areas, I feel like there were a lot of people who probably supported Trump that didn't actually want to come out and say they did. Like I have a lot of friends who I'm like, you voted for Trump, didn't you? You're not going to tell me you did, but I think you did.
And then they're like, hey, did you want some more pie?
Yeah, like people were really weird and secretive about it.
Yeah,
like,
this is one.
I don't know. They're very emotionally invested.
It's one of the most contentious things I've experienced in my life with how people handled it. And then, it's very tough. It goes back to that Dave Chappelle used to have a bit. And this is probably a 20-year-old bit, but he had a bit about, it was about white people, and it was about how they'll tell you any secret. They'll tell you secrets about what they're doing in the bedroom with their wife. And then if you ask them about who they voted for, they're like, whoa, Dave, hang on a second here.
That went too far.
Right.
That went too far.
So I was fucking my wife in the ass. Like it was like that was very funny, but and that's exactly where we're at. I don't know. You know what? I have met people who openly are supporting Trump, but they haven't really. Yeah, I don't know that they've really overly admitted to voting for Trump. But it's like, so now it's like, because now we can all kind of hide behind the fact, look, he's in, so let's talk about it.
Right.
Right. And comedians love him because he's a freak show.
Mine?
Yeah, he's a walking. It's like on the one hand, it's like you don't have there's nothing that you can really write because he's already doing it. You're just like look at what he's doing, and you don't change anything. But then at the same time, it's just like from the entertainment value standpoint, it's just an interesting time to be alive.
An interesting time to be alive.
Interesting time to be alive. So do you have any of those things? Do you have a thing that you would argue to the end of time that you actually have a dog in the fight that you feel about? Do you have a cause? Do you have a thing?
I don't. Sadly, I'm not really passionate.
No, I don't think
about
it's sad. I think it's
like that. I kind of sort of float along through life, and I don't know. I had hippie parents.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's sad at all. I think it's like that. I think it's a greater understanding of life's experiences that there's two sides to every coin. Every part of you that you think is a certain way, even in the extreme, you have the exact opposite thing right there to run up behind it. So every time you make a declarative statement, you realize in your mind that like, oh, I only do that, 60% of the time, and then there's the other 40. So not having that thing makes you less full of shit, I think.
I hope so. I don't know. And life is constantly changing. The things that I believed 20 years ago aren't necessarily the things I believe now. So I am realizing that. I'm like, well, can I definitively say that this is what I think and this is what I believe? I can only, sort of argue in the moment.
I have the this is the thing that I guess comes with age, and it's like I have these little moments every once in a while where do you have any experience where you were in a situation and you believed a thing so much that you like almost made a scene about it, and then it's like a thing that you look back on just privately are embarrassed about?
Oh yeah. Of course. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't have any specific examples, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
But
no, I mean, I can remember because, so I grew up in Berkeley.
Yeah.
Full of wingnuts and crazy people. And
wingnuts. I like that.
Wingnuts, yeah. That's what we called them in Berkeley.
I like that. That's great.
Full of wingnuts. And there were tons of interesting people. Like there was a guy, one of my favorite wingnuts was a guy who used to be a physics professor at UC Berkeley.
Okay.
And I just sort of lost his shit one
Yeah.
day. And you would see him walking around. He was always scribbling in a notebook, always writing things down.
Yeah.
There's always like weird formulas and
He's probably a genius.
yeah. And finally one day that's what someone said. They were like, yeah, he used to be a physics professor. Yeah. He lost it, and everything that he's writing in the book is like genius level. Like you cannot even understand it because it's so beyond your comprehension. Like there were people like that where I grew up. And of course you had the religious crazies. And I remember being like 15 years old and having not grown up religious myself because, as I said, I have hippie parents.
Yeah. Now, is that a Berkeley thing? Because that's the only other experience I had. I stayed in Berkeley. I stayed with hippie people. Is that where they go? Is that
probably?
Yeah. That's just the overwhelming ideology of the area.
Mecca.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like now. I haven't lived there in a long time, but growing up in the 90s in Berkeley,
hippies.
like So my
and everything
parents
is and everything is like nature and touching and drugs and
nature and touching and drugs.
That's the best way I can put
that
it,
was
right?
my childhood right there. No, but I remember being like 14 or 15 years old and adamantly arguing with this man on a street corner.
The physics guy?
Not the physics guy. No, not the physics guy, but one of the religious guys, one of the religious wingnuts, like one of the really passionate Jesus people.
Yeah.
You know, standing on a box and preaching to the rest of Telegraph Avenue about...
He's preaching and you decided to walk up to him and tell him he's wrong?
Yes.
The ball's on you.
At like 14, 15.
Wow.
I'm like, well, what it says in the Bible is actually blah, blah, blah. And... yeah, like getting into a really, really heated argument with this man on a street corner.
14.
On a street corner, yeah. And I look back and I'm like, really?
I probably shouldn't have done that.
Really? Like, was that at all necessary?
Right. Yeah. He's gonna go on thinking what he's thinking, regardless.
He does not give a shit.
You're not gonna change his opinion. Yeah. That's funny. I wonder. So this is interesting. I wonder how many people that were on that corner that saw that have that memory, just walking around on the planet. They just remember. Like a bunch of people probably just didn't look at it, didn't think about it. I wonder how much of it. And I bet you that his life has changed drastically, and that he's no longer as you say, a religious wignut. I bet he's not. It's interesting because it's like it feels like to me, from what I understand about people that are maniacally religious. I don't know if that's a fair term, but. If they're raised in that situation, a lot of times when they're young, through the whole thing, and then if there's sort of like a turning point at adolescence, maybe later, where they just they renounce all of it because they were just so heavily doused in it.
This was a grown man. This was a man in his 20s or 30s, and I think at that point, and maybe not, but I think at that point, like you're pretty dedicated.
But then there's the other end of the coin where I think a lot of people just grow up doing whatever, and then they find religion later on in life, either due to some kind of trauma or just they're lost or whatever, and then they become maniacally religious, and then it's because it's almost like their journey they've been found for whatever this ideology is. So then they need to. There's just something about religion that makes people feel like they need to like impart it on other people.
Yeah.
Like that's the most aggressive one. Like people that I think they figured out other ideas, whether it be yoga, food. I don't know why those are the things. Some other kind of
it's what
experience.
people attach to becoming vegan or finding some sort of physical
Yeah.
activity, exercise.
Yeah, Buddha,
to
whatever.
find their center.
Yeah. And so those people are less. It's less like necessary in the scripture of all of that to like go make other people be it. Like you can be a vegan without other people, but religion, it's an organized thing. You need other people.
You need to share it. You need to force it.
Right. So that's interesting. So do you have one of those things? Do you have anything? Do you have like a life ideology that's that holds you together? No?
I don't know. I don't know that I do. I sort of sort of treat people the way that I want to be treated.
Yeah.
And sort of just like
I think that's solid.
Being a good person and being honest. And
yeah.
That's
honesty. Oddly enough.
Don't know.
Oddly enough, no.
Any sort of other ideology.
No,
that
I think you're.
I adhere to.
No, I think you're great. I think honesty is a thing that not a lot of people would even think is an ideology, and not a lot of people think is important. But for me, that's kind of
the basis of.
That's my whole life. As soon as somebody lies to me at any level of my life, whether it be business or personal or anything, I'm just basically like, okay, that person's not in it anymore. Like they're not in the circle. Like they're out. Right. Pretty much any one stupid lie, and that's kind of the end for me. Because it's like, I just don't understand.
Like, why bother? Why bother lying?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand the notion of it. I don't understand why people lie. I mean, I guess I understand why people lie, but that's just like an inherent displeasure with your life. Like, I don't lie because I got nothing to hide. Because like I'm kind of like diarrhea of the mouth. Like I say too much a lot of times.
You are a comedian, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Diarrhea of the mouth sort of goes along.
Yeah. Well, but with comedy, a lot of times there's this weird family aspect where people don't bring their family to the shows, right? So it's almost like I was talking with somebody yesterday about there's about outing in porn, whether or not you come out to your parents or you keep it a secret. And comedy has. It's not on the level, but it has a little bit of that.
It's a little fine line
notion where it's like, yeah, you don't talk about your dick in front of your grandma, but it's like, if it's your act and you're proud of it, then you should be able to bring your family into that situation.
You should be. I am one of the people who is not out to my family about what I do.
Do you think they know?
I think they know.
Yeah.
I think they know. I just never found it necessary to be so upfront as to say, "Hey, Mom, guess what I did today?"
Right.
Like, I don't think it would necessarily be appropriate, and I don't think it's necessary for our relationship.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
My family knows.
It's interesting because that's almost like a specifics. Conversation because there's so many levels of your industry that it's like, I mean, when you're an accountant, you're just like, oh, I'm in accounting, and that's kind of the end of it.
Right.
And it almost feels like for your industry, it's like there would be so many more questions if you told somebody. They're like, well, which kind? What's the thing? You know what I mean? It's like, and I think that's where it gets weird. Yeah. Yeah.
There are more areas, more details, more.
Yeah.
There are different ends of the spectrum, and
I think everybody pretends
Mom knows
like
I'm a model.
Well, and I think there's different ends of the spectrum, and I think people pretend, especially for sexuality, people pretend like there's a difference just because they don't like a thing. They think that the other thing is somehow not right or more further. Because it's what they would do, but that's not a fair comparison because that's just taking your own experience. Like I don't like what that guy likes, and shouldn't have to be able to judge that guy. But for some reason with sexuality, we think that we can judge that guy for liking something different than us. So I think that's the hardest part for people in your industry with the family aspect is that. Maybe not.
It's okay if you do this. But
right.
It's not okay if you do this.
Right.
Well, it's based on your comfort level, and it's based on your experience, and it's based on.
And it should be about what you're comfortable with.
Right.
So that is interesting. Yeah, so it's like if you're a clean comedian, if you're a preschool comedian, you could tell your parents. But if you're George Carlin,
Preschool comedian?
Yeah, I don't know. There's
Oh, apparently there's different levels of comedy. I
Well,
wasn't aware of. So
I did-
preschool comedian
I
versus
did a show not 2 months ago for children. We were given like a day slot, and I was like, let's just make it a kids show. And then a lot of comedians will say to me, they'll be like, oh, I can't do a kids show, and I was in that position, I think, not that long ago, and then I started realizing that a lot of times I'm putting words in there that don't need to be there, that don't have anything to do with the content of the joke. So I've come to this clarity that most of my material, if I'm not talking about sex specifically, can be clean, and so that's gotten me to an interesting place where I feel comfortable, more confident with the material, because it's like if I can make a kid laugh and an adult laugh with the same material, then basically that's sort of like the gold standard of a joke, if it can work for all of the people. Because comedians get stuck in this thing where they're like, oh, I got to find my audience, or that's not what my audience likes, or I'm this type of comedian. I think that's kind of horseshit.
Isn't that entertainment in general, though? You find your audience or you find your niche, and
I think that's
adult performers, I think the same thing.
Yeah,
like, your audience is boy girl, your audience is girl girl, your audience is fetish, but it has to be the specific type of fetish. I mean, you kind of get pigeonholed into finding your niche. Well,
because it is a shitty business, entertainment in general, because we're trying to have anything that we can attach to, and anybody who will care. And the more specific, this is how people have made it recently, is the more specific you can be, well, in comedy and maybe in porn, the more specific you can be to a thing, then you can just corner that market.
Right.
And then you have a very discernible crowd. And then sort of it's like once you're in that niche or that niche, then it's almost like those people can't like go back, like they have to.
It closes you off to a broader.
But then they feel like they can support you through the other stuff,
yeah.
Right? So it's like the blue collar comedy tour, whatever that was, the Larry the Cable Guy, and it's like then he gets stuck in that character. So it's bad for the performer, but it is one way to find a way to stick out in the market. But it's like, I don't know, do you want to be the foot girl for, you know what I mean, for the rest of your life, or the Christian comedian for the rest of your life? It just becomes tough.
It's stagnant and boring.
Yeah, and it minimizes artistry, and that's the hardest part of this whole thing. It's trying to figure all of it out.
I still haven't.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think you're at a point of clarity. I think you're at a point of clarity where you're like, none of this is anything. And we gotta keep striving. That's kind of what it is. The moment you kind of take a break, somebody else can kind of hop in your seat.
Oh my God! Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is that thing. The quitting to nobody. You're only relevant if you're consistently creating.
Yeah, you have to put yourself out there all the time. I remember working years and years ago, working in the music industry, and we moved out of LA. And I was like, oh, where'd all the work go?
Yeah.
Oh, look, that just happened.
We were in this tiny little world. We thought everything was based about music, and then we get out of here, and there's nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had to go back to LA. Had to continue traveling there, and talking to those people and hanging out with those people, and hanging out in that little group. Because once you leave, once you separate yourself, where's the work go?
Yeah. Shoot, I'll leave New York for 3 weeks. I'll be down here for 3 weeks. I'll go back and people are like, yo, you moved to Florida, bro? And I'm like, no, dude.
It's been like 3 weeks. Come on.
You're at Albany now? No, man, I played one weekend at one club,
Yeah.
I do find it interesting. I've actually had that experience in Florida where it's almost like it almost feels like there's no work down here for comedians. You were telling me 10 minutes ago that the main club that I just had assumed was still open and was the thing, and I'm not in with them, so I didn't try to reach out to them. They close in January.
Yeah.
So there's been no comedy club in Fort Lauderdale for 10 months.
No.
Which is crazy. You can go an hour south. I think there's something in Miami, but that's basically it.
Yeah, Fort Lauderdale is sort of weird that way. It's Well, I think all of South Florida is sort of weird that way. There's a lot going on, but at the same time, nothing
Yeah.
going on.
Interesting.
It really depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
And as far as live music goes, or comedy, or just certain things, like you really have to search it out. You really have to search out shows.
Being a resident from here, if you want to do something, how crazy is it to plan to go to Miami?
To plan, Miami's close,
but it's like an hour. It's like an hour.
Yeah, with traffic, an hour. Without traffic, you're looking at 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not that
I've never seen it without traffic.
Oh well.
And I've gone a couple different times a day, right? Everybody loves to do that thing where they're like, "No, dude, it's 20 minutes. I'm 20 minutes away."
Yeah.
But then in practice, it's an hour and a half.
LA is the same way. The same way, because like when I'm in LA, I stay in North Hollywood, and to get into Hollywood, which is literally
it's a couple miles.
5 miles.
Yeah.
5 miles.
Yeah.
It can take 45 minutes.
Right.
I'm like, are you for real? I'm sitting on the freeway.
Yeah.
Like I might as well be in a parking lot.
Yeah. It doesn't.
Yeah,
I never understand how that much traffic happens and how the cities like can't respond to it. Traffic there, here, a couple of the places that we've been. I think through Philly and St. Louis, Philly, Boston, it seems like you're adding hours and hours onto your thing. It's like New York doesn't even feel like it takes that long to get places, because you can just. I guess it's because I don't drive. I just hop on. Hop on the thing.
The subway. It's a little different. There's no public transportation.
Yeah.
Here. And until you get to Miami, and there's like the people mover. Whatever.
There's something.
It's like a little subway that goes.
There's some above
metro.
train that I was gonna take a couple years ago. I was in Miami, and I had to be in West Palm, and something happened, and I didn't rent a car or anything down here, and the person who was supposed to drive me just basically canceled last minute. So I was like trying to figure out if I could take that thing up, and people were just like, dude, nobody really takes that. Like, there's no like consistent schedule. We don't really know if this gonna.
Tri-rail.
Yeah.
The Tri-rail. I have taken it to the airport a couple of times. I don't think it's consistent.
Yeah. And it was another one of those things where it's like West Palm's an hour from Miami. Well, an hour and a half. It's 90 miles, actually, I think. So it could take, 2 hours, 2.5 hours in situations. But this thing, it was like another one of those things where it was like based on scheduling, missing it, based on when the show was, it was like, it would have been like a 10-hour up and back because of everything that you're combining. So, so you answer my question. People who live in Lauderdale look at Miami like it is part of the same city. If there's a big thing going on, you go there. Like, it's not a huge, like, you don't have to make a huge plan to go see the Heat. You're just like, oh, we're going to the Heat.
Yeah, you don't have to make a big deal out of it. It's really not that far.
Yeah.
So traffic is a pain in the ass, and then like you're looking at, you're not going to be getting wasted going down there.
Yeah.
Then you have to drive.
You got to come back. Yeah.
So if there were better public transportation, that would be more of an option.
Yeah.
Uber's not.
Are you yelling at the city right now? Listen, get your shit together. I want to drink.
Lauderdale, Miami, God damn it, I like to drink.
I'm responsible. I want to drink and not drive.
No,
Get your shit together.
I actually like, if I know I'm going to be drinking heavily, I stay with friends down there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But it's not a big deal to go down.
Yeah, it does seem culturally very different in Miami than it does up here.
Yes.
To say the least. I don't know. I think this is one of the places I've been here. I want to say 4 or 5 times I've been here to visit family and whatnot. I don't think I've figured it out yet. Like, sometimes you go to a city, you figure it out. Like, I went to Oklahoma City, figured it out. I kind of know what happens in Springfield, St. Louis. Here, I still have no idea.
There's weird little pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's weird little.
And I haven't found the pocket to join.
When I first moved here, I ended up at, I don't know what I was doing, but I ended up at some weird little redneck bar.
Okay.
And it was in like the first 6 months that I had lived here, and there was like, I don't know, something like this 22-year-old daughter is sitting on her mom's lap, and like her mom is feeding her shots, and she's like, my daughter ain't got no panties on right now. I'm like, what's going on?
Sorry, what was the name of this place?
Really
I would like to go.
I'm so confused right now, and that's the impression that I had.
Yeah.
Of here for the longest time. I was like, okay, so Fort Lauderdale is just kind of this weird little
hickey pantyless place.
Weird little redneck spot.
Yeah.
I think I'll take my happy ass back to California for a while.
Interesting.
So, but then, yeah, I mean, that was 10 years ago or something when I first moved here.
I wonder whatever happened to that girl.
I don't even know.
She'll be my age now. That's actually I should look her up.
Oh my God. But now there are little pockets, and there are definitely like a lot of different types of people here and different things to do.
You said your happy little aspect of California, so that says about you that you view yourself as a happy person, which is great. What do you think happiness overall is in Florida?
Happiness overall.
Because what everybody loves about California is that the sun's always shining. It's always good weather, and
well,
there's
it
that.
depends on where you are. Because in San Francisco, part of the reason I moved was
it's cloudy, right? It's basically London.
Cold.
Yeah,
like all the time.
Yeah. So where do people find their happiness in the Bay Area?
In the Bay Area.
The Bay Area.
I don't even know anymore.
And then
here
what's
for
the
me,
spectrum?
It's the beach. Here for me,
just go to the beach.
Yeah, the beach.
You get some happiness.
And I have a really nice circle of friends here who enjoy the same things that I do.
Yeah.
So we do happy hour a lot. I have a friend who is getting her sommelier's license or certificate right now.
What is that?
Wine. She's learning about wine.
Sommelier. Sorry.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, she's becoming a sommelier.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
She's constantly having wine tastings.
Yeah.
She always brings me bottles of wine. We do a lot of dinners.
Is she doing like a speech about? She's like, and she's like telling you about the wine, giving you the tones.
Yeah.
Is she annoying yet? Has she gotten too far? Or is it still fun because it's new?
Well, we had a dinner party at our house a couple of months ago over the summer, and of course we're like, barbecue, hang out, dinner.
Yeah.
Oh no. She sat us all down. There's like 12 to 15 of us.
Yeah.
And sat us all down and handed us forms that we needed to fill out.
No shit.
That included the notes of the wine, the body, if it was acidic,
So
dry.
it was a test.
Wait a second. I thought we were just drinking.
Yeah, this is a test. So now it's a test for you.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy.
Does this mean
Did she give you the little? Did she give you the little nuggets to cleanse the palate or whatever? Did you get a little?
No,
did you get to drink it, or did you have to spit it back into the?
No, but we were just getting sips. They were very small sips of each wine.
So no barbecue.
And then of course it degenerated. Are you kidding me?
Of course
it degenerated.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out what wine goes best with barbecued ribs. That's kind of what I need to know. That's the most important part for me.
Maybe a Cabernet, a full-bodied red.
I never knew. I remember. So I still don't know a lot about wine. I worked in restaurants a bunch of years, but I remember we were going to do this comedy campsite thing. So a bunch of comedians go out to this thing, and I was like, I don't know why. Sometimes I get these little pockets of what I want to drink, what I don't want to drink, and I was like, I'm just going to bring wine to this campsite. And so in my head, I was like going through this thing. I was like, what kind of wine goes good with campfires? What goes good with s'mores? I settled on Merlot, and nobody else wanted to drink it, so I drank a bottle of Merlot as like a 24-year-old by myself, and woke up with the worst headache.
Yeah.
I'll remember that one for a long time.
Oh yeah.
That was my first real hangover. I've never been a huge drinker. That was my first real hangover. So, what did you learn from this lady in your class, which was supposed to be a drinking session?
My friend. I still have not learned very much because I kind of zone out. And it all sort of tastes the same to me.
Yeah.
Whether it's sweeter or drier or more bitter, I don't taste the apricot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's always the
taste
thing.
The blackberry. Good for you. You can discern different flavors.
I forgot what movie it was one of these scenes where where they're like it was they're like cherry, yeah, cheese, no, I don't taste the cheese in there. But yeah, they're like this, and there's this nutty, this little of a pumpernickel, and you're like, what, dude? No,
really?
No. Is your palate that advanced? And if it is, what's that good for? Yeah, what's that good for?
I don't know.
That's funny.
But yeah, so there are little pockets, and you find your people. It's like any city. So it just happens that there are many different types of pockets and people here.
That's what I learned. I learned the most is that America's pretty America everywhere you go. It's even when there's an extreme, there's whatever the extreme is on one end. Again, then a Confederate flag truck drives by. It's that's what our country is. It really is. It's you'll be you'll be at this vegan barbecue, wine tasting and talking about life and and then a big Trump banner goes by. Yeah. This is
Billy Bob drives by.
Yeah, there's so many of us, and we have so many different things. But All right. Well, listen. How do people find you on the web? Do you want them to follow you? Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter.
Oh my God.
What are your things?
All the different social medias.
Yeah, Pinterest, classmates.com.
Oh my God. Yeah, there
what
you
else?
go.
Tumblr.
Everything is pretty much the same. Kendra James. KendraJames.com.
Nice.
Twitter is KendraJames13.
What's the 13 signify?
Only because somebody else took Kendra James.
Now, did you go through the...
Who, by the way, has not used their...
She's not even using it?
No.
That's the worst.
In like 12 years.
Somebody
like,
bought
really?
Hoboken Comedy Festival before I invented the Hoboken Comedy Festival, and they still have the site. And I've been doing it for 10 years now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just give me the site. Like, this isn't... so there's a Kendra James out there who's not using her account. She might have died.
Right? I actually,
We should feel
I think
bad
I
for her.
wrote to Twitter and was like, hey, this account has been inactive.
Really?
They never answered.
Oh, wow.
me.
Yeah, Twitter doesn't care that much.
No.
The
they don't.
plus they got other worries apparently now that they may or may not exist in a little while. Wait, so here's the big question: when you get to 13, do you go 1 and that is no 2? Like, did you try all of them or you went straight to 13?
13, of course.
So why is 13 important?
Lucky number 13.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, it's a tattoo number too,
Yeah.
which I don't. It doesn't look like you have any
no,
tattoos.
No tattoos. No
So
tattoos.
Kendra James 13 is Twitter.
Is Twitter. Everything else is, I think, Kendra James.
Kendra
Yeah.
James.
KendraJames.com.
Check her out.
Yeah.
Follow her stuff. I found this out recently. I didn't know this. So like when you go to the sites where the content is free, there's no commerce. I was getting yelled at by somebody because I'm not spending the money. So basically, this is my pitch for them to go and spend money on your site and pay for your
Pay for your porn.
for your material.
Pay for your porn.
Because
pay to see me naked,
I think a lot of us
goddammit.
really do think that when we go to those sites and get a little preview things or whatever, that there's some commerce to that there may be some advertising spin to it or something like that. But apparently there's
Nope.
not. There's all ripped stuff, and I didn't know that. So I'm gonna.
I fucking 20 years in this industry and I haven't kept up with technology. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem is every day.
Myself and
Yeah.
there's so many ways to monetize things now and I just kind of
And you don't
shrug
have it.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, meh.
Yeah.
I've
Is it worth the
made my
time
little-
to do it?
Made
Right.
my little niche and I can't keep up with the Snapchat shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. The private Snapchat is
Sorry.
huge right now. Private
I
Snapchat is
just-
huge right now. The thing where it's like the text. The text conversation that might turn
Yeah.
sexual is huge right now, from what I
like
understand.
the Sex Panther, Chat Star, Dream Lover,
Yeah.
whatever.
Cam
I think
stuff
I'm
is huge
on
right now.
them.
Yeah.
I think I'm on them, but I like to make the movies I want to make
Right.
and make the content I want to make and put
And
it
then
out
do
there.
something else
And
the rest of the
then,
week.
Yeah, go have fun and do other things.
Not have to be
So-
just tied down to your Snapchat and
I-
your texting all the
no.
time. Yeah.
No, sorry guys. Sorry guys. I like to have a life outside of this, and this was a means to be able to enjoy life.
To live life the way you
want to
live
really,
it.
Yeah, came down to it. It's
Yeah.
like, how can I make money doing what I enjoy?
Yeah.
I think this is it.
This is the thing.
This will allow me to travel and experience other things in life.
Yeah.
And then somehow you get tethered to your phone, and I'm like, wait, I'm not enjoying.
I'm not
or
enjoying the life
experiencing
part. Yeah, this morning.
The rest of it.
Yeah, I had this thing. I went and I looked at the sunrise, and then I started worrying about Snapchatting it and all, and tweeting it and all those things. And then I looked up and it changed colors, and I was like,
Right.
"You dumb idiot! You just
Missed
missed
it.
the whole thing." So.
Yeah.
We get stuck in this world. Well, so check her out. Check out all the things. Wherever you found us on the web, whether it be Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, directly from SoundCloud, or the website Porn Stars Are People, we're on the other things. So you can check it out there as well. What else is going on? Check out Kendra James. Follow her. My name is Dan Frigolette. I'm a comedian. I'm going to be performing in Florida for a couple days, and then I'll be in the Midwest in December. So check out my dates. We're going to try to keep bringing you good content as much as we can. We're going to try to make our way to Exotica, New Jersey in November and try to interview some more people and give you guys some fun, interesting content. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Be
It's
safe,
been
everyone.
entertaining.